Hey, good afternoon, everybody. Thanks for joining us. I know some of you are at home. This is also being recorded, so if you do know parents who can't make it today, this link will be available on Schoology, or just obviously ask them to email me. So I wanted to get everyone together to kind of talk about the future and where we're headed with KIS and what our instruction is going to look like over the next year as we start our new model of instruction for blended learning. So that's the title of this presentation. So I wanted to kind of give you an overview of what we're going to do and what our plans are for the future. So obviously it's been a rough couple of years for all schools, and it's really changed the way schools deliver instructions. The model has to change, right? We can't continue to pretend like it's the same. Our school has reiterated over and over again that health of our students is a number one priority. So when we need to go virtual, we go virtual. And we've been really reactive, and meaning we react to situations rather than have a consistent plan going ahead. So now we are going to make a consistent plan, and we're going to stick with it throughout this year. Will the situation change in Korea? Probably a lot. It has just this weekend. But what we want to do is we want to adopt a consistent plan, present it to you, and kind of go forward with it for our students. We're going to adopt what's called a blended learning model, and I'll talk more about that in a second, which will incorporate both virtual and in-person learning. And this is going to be our model of education moving forward. So let me introduce you. If you haven't met me before, I'm Mike Bycraft. I'm the head of design and innovation at KIS. I've been here for 7 years now. Before KIS, I taught science and engineering in the United States for 10 years, and then before that, I was a scientist and engineer. So I've had a pretty diverse career. I've been doing a lot at KIS the last 2.5 years. I've been wearing a lot of hats. So I support a lot of the teachers developing and implementing technology in their classes. I teach engineering, design, a little bit of robots. And over the last 2 years, I've kind of stepped into this role of acting as a bit of a coach and guiding KIS through our process of changing how we kind of present education. And we've done a great job, and I'm really happy about it, and I'm proud to have been a part of it and to be so supported by our school. So I've been asked by our administration to kind of guide our school forward in how we deliver instruction over the next 2 years. So we're going to move into a post-COVID world, and we need a plan. So I guess I'm the person to guide us there. So let me present that plan to you. There's a couple different ways of doing online learning, and we're going to talk about each of these because we've done all 3 of these at KIS in the past 2.5 years with varying levels of success. So over the last 2 years, we've adopted some of these strategies. So one strategy is just online learning, and that's where everything's online. All work is online, all meetings are online, students are engaged, but they're online. We continue to follow a synchronous schedule, so you'll probably remember this in 2020. This was most of our method as we kind of shut the school down, as schools around the world shut down. And that was what we did. That was not a popular option, especially synchronous education. I've got my own criticisms I can talk about that way, but what's important is we move past that. We then kind of moved into a bit of a hybrid model where some of our students were in person, some of our students were online. We were doing this by grade level, we were doing this by class. It was a very reactive situation. This was kind of the end of 2020 and a lot of the start of the 2021-22 school year. And we've kind of moved past that. But that's where some students are online, some are mixed, and it was a challenge. Teachers had some students in their class in person, some students were online. Which neither side really got the education they deserve. So after 21-22, we really picked up the blended model. And the blended model is there's face-to-face meetings, but there's also working online. And the classes will meet online occasionally, right? There's that fluidity, but the idea is all of the classes either in person or online. And that's going to be kind of the model we're taking going forward. And the idea that everybody will be either together in person or together online. This doesn't mean a teacher won't have multiple models during the day. Some students will be online, some won't. And we'll talk about this a little more. So we've looked at a lot of these models and we've evaluated different instructional methods. We found that blending learning is by far the most effective instructional model. It was widely preferred by our students, by our faculty. A lot of the modern research has shown that blending instruction really does support our students. So we will conduct our classes in person when possible, but we will have that opportunity to meet online. So right now our current model will be that KIS will alternate. So middle school is on campus 1 week, high school will be virtual. And then we'll alternate in a 4-day rotation. So you'll have an A day, B day, C day, D day, and then middle school will go virtual, high school will go in person. Now there's another model similar to this, but by grade level at the elementary school. I am not going to present that at the moment. Mr. Peterson will, and some of the ed tech coaches for elementary. My goal is mostly to facilitate high school and middle school. And while this might be challenging, I feel like there's a lot of opportunities here. I feel like we can give high quality instruction both online and both in person, and we can mix those styles, more importantly, given that we've had proper training and support. So first of all, let's talk about that we're lucky. We're in a privileged situation. KIS has been successful. The last 2.5 years have been challenging for everybody, but I don't feel that our students have struggled. I don't feel that our staff has struggled any more than would be expected. I'm a parent too. My daughter is in 6th grade at KIS. She's gone here since kindergarten. So I see this perspective as an educator and as a parent. And I feel like we've been okay. We have a ton of technology. Everyone has a device. We have a large ed tech staff. We have very technologically supported teachers. So I think it's as good a situation as could be. It's not to say it's not difficult. Our students are not problem free, especially in terms of our stressors. But another advantage is because Korea is so compliant. Everyone wears a mask. Which has helped us meet more in person. Korea is really good at contact tracing, which allows our school to shift suddenly to be open or closed, like we did on Friday. We had a bit of an exposure that we thought, and a student may have been exposed to someone, so we just went virtual for the day. Everybody pivoted, our students were successful, our teachers were successful. And I think that's what's good about our blended learning model, is that we have experienced this before, and it's flexible, but allows for some diversity in instruction. So I want to also say that let's try to look at this in a positive light. Challenges are opportunities. Honestly, I like the idea that these kind of crises can facilitate change. Education isn't a stagnant field, but it definitely could use some reform. And I feel like KIS has always been on the edge of what we can do in our classes. We've done some really cool stuff. And now with these models, we're seeing teachers really embrace unique educational opportunities. We're seeing our schools, especially our school, pay a lot of attention to teachers and students' mental health, and really looking at our instruction in those lights of saying that, hey, it's not just academic. We're innovating in our classroom, and we're really allowing students to personalize their learning. And we can continue doing these things even in our blended learning model, maybe even because of our blended learning model. So let's talk about what exactly is going to be happening. So blended learning from an educational approach is face-to-face instruction with online engagement. So you're not 100% face-to-face, you're not 100% online, but there are set times. In our model, like we said, students will receive in-person instruction and alternate online instruction each week. But they will either be fully online or fully in person. And with this model, students and faculty can prepare and deliver instruction. What I like about this is that our students know what's coming, our teachers know what's coming, so you can plan a unit a month in advance. You can be prepared, hey, this week it's going to be online, so how can I optimize my instruction? Our teachers will follow best practices, and we've focused a lot of training in the past few years. A big benefit from this fixed schedule is that our teachers will understand when to deliver what instruction. We have always used our learning management system. We use Schoology. That's required by the school. Every teacher uses it. And then most of our teachers use Google Classroom as well. And that really ensures that our students, that everyone is informed about what's happening. And I think what's cool about this is because we've got so many of these resources. Our students can collaborate online, they can interact. It feels as close to a typical classroom as we can get. And the word for that is social presence. We'll maintain a social presence even online. And I feel that our blended learning model really supports social presence, and the research seems to show that as well. So what we're going to do is we've got some framework set up. So our teachers are been trained in multiple types of instructional materials. They're going to incorporate technology. They're going to incorporate technology in assessment, in understanding. We will use our technology to differentiate instruction for all students. One of the nice things about the blended learning model is it allows time for differentiation, for some students to receive more support, for some students to also extend their learning in different ways. I've seen that a lot in my own classes, where students have more time to pursue things they might be interested in. As well as we're going to utilize this technology to allow students to collaborate when they're online. A thing you may have heard of before is a flipped classroom. What that really means is that the teacher is giving the students things to look at and work on individually when they're online, and then when they meet in person, they're very focused on what they did in instruction and moving forward. I do this quite a bit with my classes now, whereas I almost give students prep time and assignments. Watch this video, read this chapter, answer these questions, work on your website, collaborate with each other, review, offer some feedback. Those are all things we can do virtually, and we can do them well virtually. And then when we're online, we've got more time for hands-on design and making and building. And I feel like that's been pretty successful thus far. So let's talk about your students. My student too, like I said, my students at KS as well. The best thing about your students being successful in this model is their learning attitude. And really, blended learning has been shown that that attitude allows them to be successful or fail in learning and retaining information, right? A positive attitude is going to help them move forward, and a negative attitude will really hinder that. And what's nice about our school is we're going to try to build and continue the things that give our students positive attitude, right? Where you're continuing to offer clubs both after school and during school. We're going to continue to offer our sports. Our sports look a little different, but you know what? That's okay. They're still out there running. Cross country is going right now. They might not have meets where they're running against each other, but they're running as a team and they're looking at best times. And I feel like that's really important. You know, our band is still functioning, drama is still functioning. Do these things look the same as before? No, they don't. But we're still continuing to push that to help the attitude of our students remain positive, as well as our staff, right? I myself love those things about school. I love drama. I love clubs. I run a number of clubs and teams and have coached in the past. And those things are important to me as a teacher. And we'll model that positive mindset, but that needs to be supported at home. And we need to maintain a positive mindset going into the system, that it is going to be different, but it's going to be flexible. And I feel like our blended learning system will really help students still be there in person, still be present, and also have some time to be virtual and reflect and work independently. Again, I feel that blended model really supports students in this situation of maybe the best of all possible worlds. So how do we motivate our students? How do you support your students? And again, our main way we can motivate and inspire them is by offering our high quality education. You know, KS is well known for this. We're known across Korea. We're known across Asia. We are a really good school, and we want to continue to be that good school. We want to motivate our students to work hard, to achieve, to do cool and exciting things. So we want to continue to offer that authentic education that we have in the past, where students are designing things for their community, where students are engaging in large multidisciplinary projects. Those things are still there. And I think those things motivate and inspire our students. We've done a lot of work with COVID and thinking about how can we move forward. We've involved students in these plannings, and I've enjoyed that, and I think students have too, of how do we facilitate a school. They have a lot of great insights, right? They're a big part of our school. So I think that keeping them active as part of the community and having that voice and authentic learning is really going to help them adapt to this situation. And I feel that we've also supported our teachers personalizing learning and kind of expanding what they've done in the past and saying, how do you support students individually? Because when we support our students and give them opportunities, they respond with high levels of motivation and achievement, right? When we give them the freedom to do these cool things, they do them. We also really want to motivate our students by giving them feedback that's responsive, that's a discussion. I honestly have found myself giving better feedback in a blended learning model because it's virtual, because I can type it out, I can use it as a Google Doc, and I can make comments, and then there's a record of my comment or over email, and then there's a record of my students' response to the comments. It becomes a conversation, and I feel like that's good, and I feel like that really helps motivate and inspire our students. We do have some really specific strategies, and you're going to laugh at this first one, but it's the most important, that our good learning starts with their healthy habits. So if they're in person, if they're learning virtually, they benefit from a set schedule, right? If they're virtual, get them up at the same time. Make sure they're eating well, make sure they're exercising, make sure they're getting a good night's sleep. It's easy to go off the rails, and I've done it myself. Virtual learning can sometimes feel like everything's just open, and you can't do that with kids especially, right? Make sure they're going to bed early, make sure they're waking up, make sure that they're engaged and eating well. And that's how you can help us. And that's a great strategy for learners and educators and parents. And while in school, teachers are going to guide our students on how to optimize them. All teachers have to have a plan on how they're going to use Schoology, and they have to set that up with their students when the year starts. And our students are encouraged to set goals and monitor their progress, right? Maybe their goal isn't just academic. It can be social, it can be emotional, it can be extracurricular. Our advisories, which will still meet, whether or not they're virtual or in person, will do a big part of that goal setting. So the student's advisory teacher, as well as their counselors, will be a part of that. And our students are going to be supported and encouraged to communicate with their teachers in specific ways, right? Maintain those relationships. I've been enjoying being able to communicate with my students in this way. And sometimes I leave video feedback like this, and I feel like that's a pretty easy way to catch that and catch those great moments and still deliver that to our students. We also want to continue to encourage them to collaborate with their peers. It's a key element of our education at CAS. It's part of our best practices, and they're going to keep doing it, whether or not they're online, whether or not they're in person, whether or not they're blended. And we know all our students have access to those multiple platforms. All our students use Zoom, they use Google Apps for education, and our faculty has been trained and supported in how to monitor and encourage these students working together to make sure that this type of collaboration online is positive and is successful in the same way that our collaboration is in person. And finally, we want to really make sure we have clear feedback protocols and expectations so everyone knows how feedback and grading is delivered, right? Teachers have to respond and provide feedback each week on student work in an understandable and familiar format. And students will have opportunities to continue this discussion. And you'll have an opportunity to see that as well. You have access to Schoology, I have access to Schoology, we all do. And so both parties will set up this kind of how do we communicate and set clear expectations as well as boundaries, right? We don't need 3 a.m. emails, and your kid doesn't need to receive them either. I don't want your students staying up till midnight doing work, saying they have to email me back. They don't. It's okay. And we've communicated that with all of our teachers. And all of our students and all of our teachers will always assume positive intent. Sometimes it's hard online to communicate and to understand the nuances of communication. So we always want to stress, assume everything's positive. That if you're getting this feedback, it's meant positively. And that's important. And I stress that with the teachers I work with, the administrators, because it's hard. This is a stressful time. And sometimes when we get those emails, we don't quite understand. So we want to make sure that we assume everything has that positive intention. Let's talk a little bit about our teacher perspectives. Our teachers are going to work really hard to maintain a social presence online in that blended classroom. We've talked about this a little bit before, but our social presence is just how connected our community is. CAS is a great and very strong community, whether or not we're online or in person. We have done a ton of work to train and support all of our teachers in social presence. I've conducted workshops. Mr. Kilback, our head of technology, has conducted these, as well as some other teachers and coaches, right? Our teachers are focused on how to communicate in the classroom, how to give timely feedback, as well as they get time to do these things. I think time's important for everyone, both teachers, students, and administrators. And honestly, our faculty, the people I work with, I'm proud of. And I know probably everyone thinks that they work with great people, but I really work with great people. So our faculty is very dedicated to learning. I'm really happy that my daughter goes here as a student. We've had a ton of training. We are given dedicated weekly time. Each week, a teacher gets an hour and a half prep with their department that we've built into the schedule to collaborate, to use best practices, to make sure all of their classes are working well online. And this kind of blended learning, I feel, can offer opportunities for teachers to collaborate across curriculum. I'm doing units with social studies, with the language arts department, with drama, and I might not have done those things in the past, but this online rotating schedule allows us to do those things. And I'm excited to see what's going to happen to collaborate with these people. And finally, how do we support your students? All students benefit from support. I know that sometimes parents are weary about student support. They don't want to feel like their student needs extra help, but let's be honest, all students can benefit from some extra help, especially now. I benefited from it in school, and I feel like students definitely can. There's not necessarily one model for student support, but we really want to work on the holistic model, which is not just academic, but emotional, social, mental health for our students. We want to support those things. We want to communicate clearly. We want to use technology to help our students learn and scaffold and just to make sure. And finally, we want to have realistic expectations, right? I like this quote that our goal is growth, not perfection. School is never perfect. Nothing's ever perfect. But we want our kids to keep growing and keep learning and keep working towards being the best young people they are. And, how do we assess that they are learning? And honestly, we've been on this road for a while, even before COVID. We've been adopting standards-based grading for the past 4 years. It's one of the big things we've been working on. We're fully shifted over in the elementary school. We're fully shifted over this year in the middle school to standards-based grading. And the high school is moving that direction, and I feel we'll probably be there next year. Maybe, maybe not. But it's a good thing. And standards-based grading really helps our assessments, right? No longer do our students get those super high stakes tests. Oh my gosh, if I don't get an A on this, right? The A's are gone. Now we're focusing on, hey, did you hit those standards? Where are you at? Are you engaged? Are you collaborating? Are you designing well? And we've really pushed that our students embrace those standards, and they're starting to use that language well. Our faculty has been flexible and has adopted a lot of these methods. And I think we've really moved away. There's still going to be tests, there's still going to be workshops, but we're looking a lot more at how we assess our students day to day in every different way. And we've really adopted those across our curriculum. And I'm really proud of the work we've done. Will your students still have large-scale tests? Probably, but I think they'll be okay. Let me share with you some final thoughts and wrap this up, because I've been talking for a long time, and I'm happy to take your questions both on Zoom and in person, as well as you can email me anytime. Finally, let me say the blended model is by far the most effective model moving forward. I feel this allows us to change between online, in person, and shift quickly when we need to keep our students safe, because that's, again, the number one priority. We've looked at the MAP scores and AP scores and SAT scores over the past 2 years and compared them with previous years, going back as far as 5 years. And honestly, we haven't seen a significant decline. We hadn't seen it the first year when we were online. We didn't see it last year when we were a mixture of blended and online. And we're not seeing it this year either. Right? Our students are doing well. This model works. And I'm proud of this model, and I'm proud of our kids and our teachers. Our students are recognized for their academic achievements, right? We're doing well nationally, we're doing well internationally. In the areas we're competing, we're doing well. In the areas of academic achievement, we're doing great. Our students keep getting accepted at some of the best universities and institutions across the world. We haven't seen any significant change there. We can say that this model is working and that it's a positive model going forward. I just want to support everybody and I want us to keep doing the great things we've done. And I'm really proud of the work we've done. I'm proud of your support. A lot of you have been much more flexible than I would have ever expected. This is a very, let's say, strenuous private school. You pay for your students to go here and to learn at a very high level, and you've supported us through a lot of our changes. And our students are still doing amazing things. They've always done amazing things. They're going to continue to do things. So have our teachers. We're becoming more flexible. We're more resilient. Think of how much better your students will be at handling stress, at handling change in the next 10, 15, 20 years. And we appreciate what we have. Honestly, for me, this changing model has really made me appreciate school and teaching and realizing what a gift it is to be around our students. And looking at our rate of vaccination in Korea, looking at our projections, we may be fully back in person sooner than we think. But the point is, we can use this model and we can go forward and we can do and continue to do incredible things. Thank you so much for your time. You have my email. I'm going to stick around and answer some questions for you on Zoom. Take care, and thank you very much.